IdealMRI.com. Premium quality MRIs. Convenient, affordable. That's Ideal. Edward Jones Investments. With agents Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, Tom Albers, and Cam Heathcott. Makes sense of investing. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. The team physicians for Baylor Athletics. Our goal is to get you back in the game. Stonewood Dental. Your comfort is our priority. Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. Your friend in the car business.
2nd and 10. Handoff. There's Squirrel on the move inside the 20. That speed inside the 10. Touchdown.
The Willis Law Firm. Premier personal injury and product defect trial lawyers. Petty Clinic Low T, helping you become the high-performance man you want to be. Pioneer Steel and Pipe. Metal buildings, metal roofing, steel and pipe. The Pioneer way since 1943. Baylor University, where lights shine bright. Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. Come by, let's be friends. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131. First National Bank of Central Texas. Bird Culchin Ford, your home for Texas-built Ford tough trucks.
Now here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
And good afternoon. SicEm365 Radio, the pregame show today, 101 Elm Avenue off the corner of MLK and Elm. I'm David Smoke with Paul Catalina to my left, Craig Smoke to my right. Tyler Bolden runs the mothership. Great to have you, Tyler, and have an opportunity to work with you, young talent that you are, and then Colt Barber here as well at 101 Elm Avenue. We'll have all the scores from around the country, also some high school football scores. We did an earlier game here on SicEm365 Radio. Riker beating Temple Central Texas Christian School 27-22. We came over here, perfect timing. And tonight, can Baylor snap a 5-game losing streak after the devastating losses in a way, gut-wrenching losses in Ames and Lubbock? And if they can't do it now, I'm not sure if they'll win any other games if they can't win tonight.
No, it's going to be tough. I mean, they've got the State of Oklahoma coming up, back-to-back weeks next week and the week after. Both those teams have been good all year. One of them is getting even better as the year goes on in Oklahoma. Not the team you really want to see as well as they're playing right now. So get a win this week. Look, Kansas State's got a lot of problems that you have had throughout the time. They definitely can get a win here today if they, mind their P's and Q's.
Well, yeah, that's the question. Craig, this is a Kansas State team that has battled the same type of things that Baylor's been through, and they just, last week, Iowa State just completely destroyed them.
No, I mean, they got ran out of the building and got embarrassed, and I'm sure that they have had a good week of practices and are looking forward to trying to grab some measure of redemption or bounce back, whatever you want to phrase it as. But, yeah, K-State's not the type of program that they're going to take a loss and then they're going to mope their way into a second straight loss because they just, aren't in it or aren't playing very well. I mean, they may not play very well today, but they're going to show up ready to play, and I think they'll play well. So, yeah, I think that's what Baylor has in front of them. And, these are two teams that, as we've documented all week long, they both need this win. And we'll see what happens here in a little while.
Oklahoma State earlier today, they had a 19-point lead at one point, then held on to beat Texas Tech 50-44 in an old-fashioned Big 12 shootout. There was an interception for a touchdown for Oklahoma State, a kick return for a touchdown from Oklahoma State. They ended up winning the game 50-44. And Alan Bowman threw for 384 yards and a couple of touchdowns to make it close at the end. But Oklahoma State wins, and they get back on track, 50-44. That's, of course, who Baylor will play in a couple of weeks if everything goes according to plan on December the 12th. Oklahoma's game today, of course, that was postponed, so they're not playing. So the rest of the Big 12, yesterday, Iowa State basically all but clinched a spot in the Big 12 championship game, 23-20. Texas had that game in control. And then they let it get away in Iowa State with a huge win for Matt Campbell and company.
Yeah, and the heat, rises on Tom Herman. I don't know how that's all going to go down. None of us do. But the Texas fans were indignant after the game about Tom Herman and really upset about, especially that last drive where he threw two incomplete passes, and that gave Iowa State even more time to go down and score. Now, the bigger issue for me if I was Texas is you were up and they had to score a touchdown to beat you, and you let them do that at the end. Play calling certainly helped it, but that was the bigger deal.
Well, Sam Ehlinger can't take that sack at the end, and there's a couple of other things that just went wrong, but certainly play calling was part of that. And, I just think that UT already had their mind made up. And when I say UT, I mean like the fan base that you hear, talking online. I think they've been ready to get rid of Herman for, a good while now. And Iowa State was just the game to kind of push it over the edge for some maybe, or was just the final piece of confirmation needed for others. But yeah, that's going to be an interesting situation to follow. Obviously, if you've been paying attention to any of the rumors, there's been a lot of smoke about Urban Meyer. Now, I don't know if there's any legitimacy to that or if that's just the pipe dream. I know that Orange Bloods has been pushing that for 3 months now, even going so far as to ask Tom Herman about Urban Meyer directly. So we know where their head's at, and we'll see where Texas' head's at here in the next few days.
I'm so tired of hearing about UT, and it's because it's UT, and it's because obviously the expectations of the standards are out of whack. But again, when you are the ones that like to talk about how much money you make and all the things you have, and here's the problem they face, and we'll then clear them out and move on to everything else the rest of the way, is that they're about to build a new arena. They're also adding this massive part onto the stadium that continues to get bigger. And this has been a year where they've lost money. Not lost money, but they have lost some revenue because of COVID. So that'll be interesting. That might come in the decision for those who write the checks as well.
The thing about it is Urban Meyer will win wherever he goes if he decides to go anywhere. I don't know what his plan is. I would think he probably gets back into coaching, unless that heart's giving him trouble again. Wink, wink, nod, nod. But, I don't know what his plans are. I don't really know how he, when he talks about Texas, I don't know if he says it in, terms of he's favorable towards them or if he kind of doesn't like sort of the things that keep them down, and I don't know how he would be. But anyways, that's going to be for Austin Radio to talk about. Yeah. I just find it funny that, Tom Herman was the guy. That was the guy. He was going to win big, and, he obviously hasn't.
Well, yet again, it's been a decade, as even Sam Ehlinger said in the postgame. Baylor, is Dave Aranda the guy? I think he is. I also think a lot of people are very impatient, and I also think people are frustrated, and you, the fan base, have a right to be. I think you do. Today, Treston Ebner, John Lovett, all back. Those two are back, and I've been told that also Tyquan Thornton this week practiced pretty well and was a little frisky. Now, can they get in the ball? Can he clear routes? Can he get open? We'll figure that out as well. But we've also seen this year where on game day, an hour or two, or even sometimes right before the kickoff, our Colt Barber, among others, might say, okay, yeah, but so-and-so and so-and-so aren't playing. But it appears as if those are three weapons. Now, can you get them the football so they can actually be weapons in the game against Kansas State?
Well, you're missing Ben Sims, too. He's also back this week, or expected to be back at least. At least that was the thoughts earlier. So, yeah, that's four guys right there that you haven't really had the opportunity. Well, for three of them, you haven't been able to use at all for the last couple of games. And then Ebner somewhat. So, I wrote a little article this week just talking about their returns and kind of what Dave Aranda was saying about them. And Aranda's whole point was it's players over plays. Now, I don't know if we've always seen that with the play calling this year, players over plays. I think we've seen plays over players. Mm-hmm. And now you have no excuses. Here we are, 3 games. You're you're actually favored today, I think. At least they were earlier this week. But, you won't be in the next 2. But, if you've got Ben Sims back, who was catching touchdowns before he got hurt, you got Treston Ebner and John Lovett when you've had nothing but freshman, young-faced kids the last 2 weeks. You got both those guys back, and we know Ebner's more than just a runner. And then you've got who's the fourth name? Tyquan Thornton. My gosh, he hasn't done anything this year, and you have not been able to go deep all that often. And part of that's Charlie as well, but he gives you an option to open things up for R.J. Sneed and company. So if we don't see a major step forward for this offense today, and it's not anything that K-State does necessarily, but just in general, then that's a problem because those 4 guys, your offense should automatically be better and be improved compared to what we've seen.
All right, so that game is a kickoff at just after 6. We'll take you until 5:30. We'll hear from Dave Aranda. We'll hear from Abram Smith, who filled in for Terrell Bernard, who's out for the year, and Dave Aranda on many things because, again, after the game of the loss to Lubbock, it's a Texas Tech in Lubbock, and then, you know, you have the buffer time, and it's like, you know, all sorts of negative. There's nothing but been negative, and there's some positive, but it's not in the win-loss column. You've lost 5 in a row. You really can be safe to say that you should be 3-3 with wins against Iowa State on the road, although that not one you expected. And then the game with Texas Tech, you could know someone like watching somebody bleed to death, knowing that in the fourth quarter that Tech would have the win behind their back and you couldn't do anything with it. This is a game that, to me, I asked Dave Aranda this, and Tyler, if you could dial this one up if you have it on Aranda Rock Bottom. That's not the very first one, but here's what I asked, because it does seem like sometimes you're like, man, can it get any worse? And yes, it sometimes can.
Was the way the game ended, I know it's been almost 2 weeks or over a week, but just what you've done at Ames and it didn't work out, the gut-wrenching ending, and the same thing with Texas Tech. Do you believe that there's sometimes there's a rock bottom before you can get back to what you want to be?
No, I have never really thought of it that way. I think it's just when we don't get the results we're aiming for, I think there's always things to improve. I think there's always whether it is, I think just as teachers, number one, I think you teach who you are, and so there's always going to be this technique, this scheme, this, that, this, whatever. But it's what's in your heart, right? It's what you believe, it's what you value. Like, those things come out. And so, when you get into these times that are tougher, right, you're teaching who you are. And so I think for us, it's an opportunity to kind of walk the walk, and all of it. And I feel we'll be better for it.
So that's Dave Aranda on rock bottom. Are you a rock bottom? You feel like you could have rock bottom? Because every time you think it might be rock bottom, the Iowa State game, you blow the lead, then you had a chance and you throw the pick. And then rock bottom when you blow the lead against Texas Tech, which made no sense. And then you lose today to a team that's somewhat mentally and physically crippled. This then goes rock bottom even deeper.
Yeah, I think any time in life, I'm going to give a little life lesson today. Anytime you think it can't get any worse, don't think that. Because it absolutely can. I mean, no matter what you're doing, hey, the weather can't get any worse than this. Yeah, it can. I can't lose any more money than this. Yes, you can. Yeah, I mean, you can. There's always rock bottom is kind of a weird thing because you don't know you're at rock bottom until you start to climb up. So until you actually start to climb up, then you don't know. So yeah, it can get worse.
No, this is definitely not rock bottom. I mean, they have a win this year. There, is the chance they could have been over at this point. I think that would feel way worse than, even having one win and win over Kansas. But imagine losing to Kansas. Imagine how that would have felt to start off the year and then lose every game after that. So, no, it could definitely be worse. I mean, this team, for the most part, has its health, outside of the little COVID issues here and there and the injuries that have bitten them pretty brutally with guys like Squirrel Williams and Terrell Bernard. But it's just been a tough year in general, and I don't think it's rock bottom. I mean, I do think there's still room to go down, and it's not all is lost, and there's plenty of room to go up, of which they could certainly accomplish that today. I will say with this weather today, my expectations for Baylor have gone down a little bit just because this was not the ideal weather, I think, for playing Kansas State when you're not a good running team. And whereas Kansas State is a good running team and is not very good at passing the football, nice and dry would have been great today. I don't know if that'll come into play or not, but just something I was thinking on the way over. But, yeah, definitely not at rock bottom.
Yeah, this is the kind of game that K-State, if it was on regular grass and mud, they'd be pig and slop, no question about it. We'll see what happens with Kansas State. You know that they've heard all week long how bad they were, and they were bad against Iowa State, and there were some reasons for that because of things they're dealing with the roster. And they got to say, well, at least we're not playing Oklahoma or we're not playing Iowa State again. And we saw Iowa State play almost the perfect game, and then yesterday against Texas, part of it with UT, but Iowa State was not as sharp yesterday. Purdy was surely not as sharp yesterday, but they ended up winning the game because they're good. We'll see what Baylor can do tonight. Again, just after 6 o'clock, the kickoff on again at McLean Stadium, Baylor in Kansas State. We'll hear from Dave Aranda at around 5 o'clock today. So that was Dave Aranda on rock bottom. Now, the question about Baylor and Charlie Brewer, which has been one of the more topics that has gotten a lot of, I guess you could say, a lot of conversation. He will start. I was curious when I asked Dave Aranda on Monday, did the bye week or whatever give him a chance to maybe even look at other things, including the quarterback position, during the off week leading into this week against Kansas State?
You were asked about whether or not he might come back. I know that that's not right now, but is that something that you want him back for another year? I didn't know if you didn't sound like you were too sold on what you wanted him to do.
No, yeah, I'm a big fan of Charlie, and I look at there's a fair amount of guys that are in that position of, whether it's Ebner or Lovett, or there's a fair amount of guys, and so I think the more that we can get our guys back, and if they're willing to come back and compete and be on our team and contribute and all of it, would love to do that. And so from my perspective, it's I love this team, and let's get better, and let's do it together. But I think as these weeks go by and we get closer to the end of the season, it just seems more appropriate to bring it up and talk about it then.
Yeah, it is. And right now, what you have to focus on, just win a game. And I'm not saying if you beat Kansas State, if you do, that means you set yourself up for what you can do against Oklahoma, who's battling COVID and had their game tonight postponed, or what you can do against Oklahoma State, who just won today 50-44 in a shootout. But it sure does help. Any kind of win, I don't care who you are, what your record is, or who you beat, any win, unless your standard is so high that it's just impossible to scratch the itch. Any win right now for Baylor would be big. Any win.
Yeah, I mean, it's winning. It's winning versus losing. I mean, there's a huge swing in emotions, and a win is a win is a win. I mean, it doesn't matter how you get it. Now, if you're a team like Clemson and you only win by 7 one week, then your fan base gets to the point where, yeah, maybe they complain about things like that or whatever. But when you're a team that's only won one football game, winning a second one is a major deal, and it doesn't matter if it comes in the 4th game that you play or in the 8th game that you play or whenever. It just matters that you get it. So I know they don't want to walk into the offseason with 1 win and relive that all over again after doing it 3 years ago. 2 is not that much better, but 2 is better. And today would be a much better feeling walking out of McLean Stadium than at any other time other than Kansas this year.
All right, so one other thing happened today before the game. There's always something. Of course, right down the street on MLK, the SicEm365 tailgate's going on over there at the Brazos parking. And Colt was over there along with all of the Colt, Brian there, Ashley there, all of the guys are there. And also they unveiled the statues. Remember on Veterans Day, we were able to do the story with the veteran and the stories about many people who were at Baylor University. And Jack Loomis and John Kane had these beautiful statues unveiled today. Football and baseball alums, Congressional Medal of Honor recipients, and they are now in that section. You have the RG3 statue, and then you have 2 Congressional Medal of Honor recipients, and Jack Loomis and John Kane, both of them honored today as well. That was a stirring, very, very cool. Our Brian Etheridge has been a part of that push for a long, long time. And so got it done. Congratulations. Those 2 honored as they should be. All right, when we come back, we're going to hear from Abram Smith, the linebacker who took over for Terrell Bernard, and his thoughts about the defense, among much more. We'll also take your calls, questions, and opinions. The number to call, 254-339-1122, 254-339-1122. Baylor basketball plays tonight. That's, I don't know if you heard the Jerome Tang interview last night. They play 7 o'clock tonight against the University of Louisiana Lafayette.
And he'll be the head coach.
And last time he said this in the interview with me, the last time he had to take over, and he knew he was going to he had 2 months because he was Scott Drew suspended for a game. He said this has been a little bit different, but he also mentioned that Scott Drew did not sleep for basically 3 days trying to find games for men's basketball so that players could put their jerseys on.
While he has COVID.
Yeah,
while
I was
he
going
has
to say, while
COVID,
battling COVID, he didn't sleep for 3 days.
He did joke that he finally did take a shower after they finally secured the 2 games. Thank God that the Drew family had Scott in the shower. All right, coming up next, we'll hear more about Baylor and Kansas State. Baylor men's basketball tonight. The women on their way to Tampa pretty soon as well. All that. SicEm365 Radio continues right after this. Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
What season is it? It's truck season at Allen Samuels. Ram trucks are raring to go, ready to work and play, and all feature the best deals of the year during Ram Power Days. Come get your brand new Ram Lone Star at Allen Samuels with 0% for 72 and no payments for 90 days. Or choose up to $9,250 in bonus cash and incentives. Ram, the highest pickup owner loyalty in America. Shop, apply, buy online. We deliver. Ram Power Days at Allen Samuels.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
This is the Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac SicEm365 Radio Baylor Football Tailgate Show.
Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
As I mentioned, there are some high school football games being played today. A lot of them, in fact, a handful. There was a small handful on Thursday, then a ton of them yesterday. And there are some games going on, in fact, this afternoon around the area. Live Oak beat Vanguard 54-8. That's they've beaten them twice this year. They move into the next round in 6-man. And then we did the game, Riker winning 27-25 over Central Texas Christian School out of Temple tonight. Chilton and Tenaha, the winner, the lucky winners, will get to play Mart, who just hammered West Sabine 66-18 last night as well. Now, some college football scores around the country. A top 25, Coastal Carolina. Been kind of a feel-good story. They're 8-0, 42-7. They lead Texas State to start the fourth quarter. Alabama, 21-3 with Steve Sarkisian running that deal. 21-3 over Auburn. That game at halftime. They just started the third quarter. Clemson, 38-10, late second quarter. 38-10 at the end of the first half, basically. How about this one? Michigan State, which has been down, the state of Michigan, 17-6 over unbeaten Northwestern at halftime. In Florida, they beat Kentucky 34-10. Indiana 27, Maryland 11. Nice bounce back for Tom Allen and company after the loss to Ohio State. And as we mentioned, Oklahoma State beat Tech 50-44. Tonight, A&M LSU, Georgia, South Carolina, Ohio State and Illinois canceled, postponed. Oklahoma, West Virginia, and Cincinnati Temple canceled. How about this story in the Big Ten? If Ohio State, any of their games against Michigan or Michigan State are canceled, unless some other games in the conference are canceled, which most likely they will be, there's a chance they may not get to the magic number to be able to play for the Big Ten championship.
Yeah, after all they've done to get back and play. Of course, this is why the other conferences anticipated that there were going to be problems. And that's why they said we're going to go ahead and play. And the Big Ten and the Pac-12 got all in their feelings about everything and decided that they were going to try to run the college football world. And look what's happening to them now. Yeah,
I mean, you can't say that you're shocked or caught off guard or surprised by this. I mean, we knew it was a possibility the way things were set up. We knew it was a possibility with the way the Big Ten decided to do things, as Paul mentioned. And yeah, I mean, it's just it's a brutal blow if it does happen. We'll see. But, you know, at the same time, I don't really feel all that sorry for Ohio State. They usually get the benefit of the doubt, and this would actually be something that works against them potentially. But you know, still need to see it actually happen. And you know, from just a college football fan standpoint, I wouldn't mind, you know, Ohio State, you know, finally not having everything go their way. But at the same time, I do think they're one of the top two teams in the country. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I feel like I do want to see them in the playoff. And then that would stink to not see them because I do think they match up with Bama and they match up with Clemson. And I don't know how many other teams really do.
Notre Dame, of course, winning yesterday. They kind of had to fight through it, but they got their job done. And then last night, how about this? Oregon State, there was talk about the Pac-12, and of course, they're a mess as well. They may have just lost their lottery ticket when Oregon State beat them in the last 30 seconds and had to overcome a couple of blown calls at the goal line, but they did beat Oregon and knocked the Ducks out of that contention.
A lot of sad blonde-haired dudes with dreadlocks.
Yeah, for sure.
Last night.
For sure. No, that was a very anticlimactic ending to that game. That was just atrocious Pac-12 officiating, ruining what was, you know, a close game with it on the line, and then just like 10 minutes of, you know, conversations with the officials and checking this and checking that. And it was like there's all this excitement built up. And then the announcers were like, what are they doing? Like, let's go. Like, here's this. This is why people tune in. And if people tuned in right at the moment that game was reaching its you know, fever pitch, then you tuned in right as they were about to go to 10 minutes of just officials talking. And it really killed the whole mood of that game. But Oregon State, really nice win for them.
Yeah. You know what's funny? You mentioned the Pac-12 officiating. Isn't it funny how the bad officiating in each conference kind of falls along, like how the attitude of the conference, like the Pac-12, very unsure of themselves. And, you know, they had that situation last night. The Big 12, I mean, like they're paralysis by analysis, so that the Big 12 has to meet all the officials together to be like, holding on 71? 71? Everyone 71? Are we in agreement? Everyone 71? 71? Okay, I'm going to give a long explanation about holding on 71. The SEC and the Big 10, when they make mistakes, their general attitude toward it is so.
Yeah.
Like, so we, and then the ACC is just kind of like, I don't know.
Big 12 likes to have meetings about having meetings.
Yeah.
Is basically what they do. By the way, just saw this high school football score: Live Oak 54, Vanguard 8. So that was a final there.
And so they win twice. They beat Vanguard. They beat them pretty good the first time, and they move on 54-8. That's a final as well. Now in college football in the Big 12 today, again we mentioned Oklahoma State 50-44 in an explosive game. Baylor, K-State just after 6 o'clock. Also, TCU and Kansas play at 7. Both of them need a win. TCU 3-4, Kansas winless at 0-7. That Oklahoma and West Virginia game postponed. And then yesterday, Iowa State 23 and Texas 20. That's a final as well. So, and Baylor men's basketball, we mentioned it tonight. They play at 7 o'clock against the University of Louisiana Lafayette, and then 5 o'clock tomorrow against the University of Washington, one of, 3 teams that beat them last year. Kansas at home, and they lost to Washington as well in that game early in the year up in Alaska or wherever it might have been. Maybe I believe it might have been.
I give a lot of credit to Mack Rhodes and Scott Drew for scheduling those games and getting that done. And I know there's other teams out there that are in the same boat, and they're also trying to get the same things done. And that's the teams they're going to be, teams they're playing, obviously, or teams looking to put together something as quick as possible. But that was just a tremendous job to turn around and, in the face of a negative, turn out with a pretty big positive.
One of the things in that Oklahoma State win, I just noticed this in the stats, Desmond Jackson, 36 carries, 235 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Chuba Hubbard didn't play in that win, 50-44. Texas Tech, after the win against Baylor 2 weeks ago, they finished at 3, or they're now 3-6, 2-6 in conference play. So they have 1 game left on their schedule. And, of course, that's I don't know if it'll probably be next week if, in fact, there's not a change.
I know that Spencer Sanders is kind of feast or famine, but he does, when he plays an entire game, make a huge difference for that offense in that he makes a lot of mistakes. I mean, he is kind of a walking heart attack, but he absolutely has the athletic ability to make people have to respect all facets of their offenses, where the other quarterbacks that have played this year, you cannot say that about them.
Yeah, he just turns it over way too much, and he has not shaken that bad habit. And for Oklahoma State, I mean, they're still 6-2. That's nice, but you lost to your rival again, and now you'll play Baylor to close it on out. But, your destiny is out of your control. You have to sit and watch other results. You had your opportunity last week, and you blew a huge tire against your arch rival. And, this is a year where you had Chuba Hubbard come back when nobody expected him to come back. Tylan Wallace comes back when nobody expected him to come back. I mean, both those guys should very well be rookies in the NFL on, top 3-round pick, top 2-round pick draft contracts, or if not first-round pick, right? And instead, it's turned into a couple losses this year in a year where, early on they were already booking tickets for the Big 12 championship game.
All right, so Abram Smith is the linebacker who came in, stepped in. He had 13 tackles, I believe it was, against Texas Tech in the loss that, like I said, it was like watching somebody bleed to death. You could just almost see the ending with Tech in the fourth quarter with the wind after Baylor didn't take advantage of the opportunities, and then, of course, the turnovers that hurt him as well. So Abram Smith checked in. He came in, played well. He's not Terrell Bernard, but you know what? Terrell Bernard had to check in because Clay Johnston got hurt against Oklahoma about a year ago. Abram Smith on stepping up and having the opportunity, and the defense trying to do what they do. Abram, when things are kind of not going well and the losses pile up, there's always things that can swirl, players that look maybe to go elsewhere. And what is it like inside at least the defensive locker room right now, as far as everybody being all in, being patient, understanding this is part of just a day-to-day deal?
I mean, I think for the most part, a lot of us were here when it was 1-11. So I feel like, it's all a part of the process. So with us having that mentality, having that mindset, I think it's just going to carry on and, get pushed down to the guys who just got here, so that they understand that it's going to be a grind at first and that we're going to eventually break through.
Are there any similarities? I know obviously 2017 was different for different reasons compared to now, but the coaching change and transition, are there any similarities that you can draw upon?
In terms of similarities, I mean, for the most part, I feel like it's kind of just the grind of it, just the grind of it all. Just the whole, I guess you could say, just the whole coming together as a full team is pretty much what we're getting at right now.
That's Abram Smith, the linebacker who stepped in for Terrell Bernard, who's out for the rest of the year. And then there's Baylor. And there has been, we know the stories, some players who were thinking about leaving, some then you had the week of the Texas Tech, the day of the Texas Tech game when I found out that Gary Bohannon did not make the trip, and Aranda clarified that on Monday when he said that he still believes that he'll be a part of the team, or in the post game, he would be back, and he was. But there is, anytime you have a coaching transition, any time the philosophies or how things are done, it might even be how you have your team meals, or who in the heck is the strength and conditioning coach, or what you do, playing time, all of that. There is some infighting, maybe some turmoil. You can have that with a team that's winning. And so I asked Dave Aranda right now, and this was on Monday, is he finding out right now who is all in? We asked Matt Rule this question over and over again, and we're asking Dave Aranda the same thing.
Is this when you find out who's all in?
Yeah, I thought, yesterday, for example, really good energy yesterday. I thought guys, when we all came back from the bye and the break, I think they lifted on Friday, but we didn't have any football for them on Friday or Saturday. So coming back yesterday, a lot of good energy. Meeting I thought was great, and then the practice was I thought had a lot of juice to it, and I look back at these last couple weeks of our weightlifting sessions and our condition work and our football practices, and guys are out there having fun, competing. There's energy out there. And so I think it's taking that to Saturday and for 4 quarters, and I think that's really the challenge. I think when guys are around here and they're in the day to day, I think they're enjoying it, and they're backing their teammates, and they're pulling for each other. And, we've got to be able to get this 4 quarters taken care of and get ourselves a win.
What would a win mean right now to your program?
I think it just validates that the work that we do, and gives our guys, something positive to build upon. I think we're building upon the daily wins that we encounter, whether it's getting to a learning specialist on time, whether it's getting to a tutoring session on time, being prepared. It's being early to a class. It's acing a test. It's having a great workout session. It's having a great meeting, taking notes, right? Getting some out of it. This is what I learned. This is my big takeaway. Those things. And so we're trying to win those individual moments. Win the day. And so really focusing on those things as opposed to the what has happened and kind of where we're at and all of it. And so I think a win will validate that process. And so I think, it'll be big for us.
Yeah, and one of the things, and we'll get to your calls, 254-339-1122, the text line open as well. One of the things that he mentioned, one of the parts of what he said is take it to Saturday. You can look great on Tuesday. You can say Ebner and Lovett and Tyquan Thornton were frisky and healthy. We've heard that before. Take it to the game at just after 6 o'clock and use it against Kansas State. You don't do that, it doesn't matter how you practice. Some teams practice well but don't play well. Some practice well and they're really good on game day, and some kind of, coach can be nervous about the practice, and they always seem to still find out a way to win. So, I don't know. All right, so coming up, we'll hear from Dave Aranda at 5 o'clock. We'll take you to 5:30 as well. Back to the calls, 254-339-1122.
On the Impact Health Labs caller line, T-Rex, you're on SicEm365 Radio.
Hey, gentlemen, It's raining, it's pouring. You know what else is pouring out here at the SicEm365 tailgate? The drinks. Because rain or shine, we're going to party. We're going to whip that K-State butt today. That's all I got to say. And, I've been out here since who knows how long, but guess what? It's a great day, and if you ain't out here because you're scared of a little bit of rain, well, then you're scared of winning. That's what I got to say, because guess what? We've been through it. We've been through the monsoons. We've been through the snowstorms. If you were in 2013, you saw the Ice Bowl. Stop being scared of a little rain, because guess what? Today, we're going to kick that little kitty cat butt, and we're going to win this game today. And that's all I got to say, because guess what? The prophecy will be fulfilled, and the Baylor Bears are going to be a 2-victory team, and then we're going to go beat Norman, and then we're going to connect next week. We're going to beat a top 25 Oklahoma State team, because that's something that Matt Rule couldn't do and Dave Aranda will do. There you go, SicEm Bears.
Thank you, T-Rex. I saw where T-Rex yesterday followed me on Twitter.
Finally.
Well, I don't know. I think what he does is he comes and goes. I think he has his ups
I think
and
his
doses.
account got hacked is what happened.
Oh, it did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's been happening a lot, I hear.
At least that's what I mean. He said, hey, you got a new account. I'm pretty sure it got hacked. And, yeah, Tyler, who's running the show today, his account got hacked. Tyler, I told you this the other day. I sent Twitter like 50 notifications saying, like, hey, definitely know, like, my friend here's hacked, and they don't care.
I'm pretty sure there have been 1,000 support requests submitted on my end. Everybody else, Twitter hasn't done a dang thing about it.
Yeah. So T-Rex went ahead and just launched a new one.
They feel you were a guy who really would defy reality with an eye.
Yeah.
That's what they changed his name to.
Big in Bitcoin.
Yeah,
for
by
sure.
the way, Armstrong has been off for a few days. CJ, of course, is on his way to his next endeavor as an intern at UMHB. And we've had Jack, of course, who's been a part of things. And Colt's here today just to kind of, I think Colt just wanted to get out of the weather and come chill and watch some college football games. Ole Miss leads Mississippi State. Last I saw, it was 21-7. I think that's maybe at halftime. Is that right? Maybe it's at halftime. I don't think it's over. But Tyler Bolden, a young man who's got incredible talent, and hopefully a chance we can keep him busy a little bit. How are we doing?
I made my first mistake just now. It had been so good, and then I got too cocky. That's what happens, is that you're too confident in your abilities, and then you slack off a bit. Now, I'm going to say I didn't slack off. It's just, this is I can't even say first day jitters because I was here the other day. But so far, so good. I'm not going to give myself an A-plus performance yet, but we're getting close to the A.
Wait a minute, you made a mistake?
I did. It's shocking, right?
But is it something that anybody would notice?
I think so, if they were really nitpicky.
Is it like you've jumped off sides? It was like you're a 300-pound lineman and you moved? It was
this is a 5-yard. Jack had a 15-yarder the other day. This is a 5-yarder.
21-14 Ole Miss leads Mississippi State. Doesn't it seem like it was 5 months ago when Mississippi State stunned the nation and upset defending champion LSU?
I bet it feels longer than that for Mike Leach.
Hey, the Egg Bowl last year got both coaches fired, if you remember.
Right.
Like, it was weird. Like,
you're right.
Yeah,
you're right. All right, so your thoughts. Kansas State it was awful last week, and they had depth issues and numbers issues, and I'm sure, I don't know, we don't know exactly. You know if you're Baylor, no matter how bad K-State looked, you surely have to look in the mirror. You're 1-5 too, and have had at times a mess that you've created and also have developed. These are two teams. One of these teams is going to win the game.
Mm-hmm. Well, you can't
I sure hope so. If not,
otherwise, I'll be at McLean Stadium until 3:00 in the morning.
If it doesn't, I mean, look, if you looked at K-State and thought, like, oh, Baylor's definitely going to win, then you haven't really been watching Baylor. But you do have to feel good about their chances today. K-State is in a spot right now, and I wrote this for the website about Chris Kleiman today, in that, look, he's still an excellent coach. He's still, they're still going to block and tackle as good as they can. They're still going to do all those things right. They're not going to commit stupid penalties. They're still going to be coached that way. They just don't have most of their good players, and they only have one playmaker on offense. So if Baylor does what they should do, they should win, because Kansas State is in it right now where Baylor was about a month ago. So if they can take advantage of that, like the teams that played Baylor a month ago took advantage of it, they should win today.
Yeah, I mean, it's just going to be all about finishing. And, hopefully you're not having to finish to where you're digging yourself out of a hole, a la TCU or several other games this year. and you're in it in the early section of the game, and then you just have the opportunity to finish it off for once. I don't count finishing off against Kansas because the lead was already so big. There wasn't really a whole lot to finish there. It was pretty much known at halftime what that outcome was going to be. But in every other game this year, it's pretty much gone down to the wire, and they've missed opportunity after opportunity in every phase to try and change those outcomes. So, we know what it is. I mean, we know what the deal is, and they know what the deal is. And if they want to go out and get a win today, you got to do everything possible to get that win, because Kansas State's going to come in here and play well. I don't have – I know you keep referencing the kind of things like the team is fine. They've got a few guys who are, opting out, but there's several teams across the country that have had that happen, with guys deciding to opt out. So there might be a couple of – guys who aren't seeing eye to eye, but really the issue for them this year is they lost their quarterback. I mean, they lost him, and then after that happened, the offense went right off the side of the cliff and has pretty much been narrowed down to Deuce Vaughn and running the football, and that's all they've really been able to do. So I'm sure they'll try to throw something new out there today, or at least attempt something new against Baylor. But, I mean, for K-State, it's really just been a matter of things were going well, quarterback got hurt, and now it's been a struggle, and then, COVID stuff too to an extent. And whereas with Baylor, it's been everything under the sun, it feels like. And so I think they're still the team coming in here with a lot more of the baggage than K-State, and they're going to have to unload that baggage and again, just play well and finish and start and do all the things in between to beat this team.
By the way, this is Saturday. We're not even finished or even close to today being done. There's already a game next week. Miami and Wake Forest has been postponed because of COVID at Wake Forest. That's next week. Yeah. And we're not even halfway through the day today.
Better than announced the day before.
Or the day of, like Florida State and Virginia this morning.
Yeah.
Florida State's out of 44 players. All right, Stephen from Virginia, you are on the Impact Health Labs caller line on SicEm365 Radio.
Hey guys, I'm ready for a game. I'm really excited about it. The off week gives me just enough time to get really excited again right before the game starts. The two biggest things today are, for me at least, are running the football, which I'm encouraged because they did so well last week and they're getting a lot of healthy bodies back this week, and stopping the run, because I feel like the reason Iowa State was so successful was because they put 8-9 in the box and dared them to do something other than to try and run it with Deuce Vaughn. So that's just kind of where I'm at today. So ready for another big game and glad for a good show.
Thank you, Stephen in Virginia. Great to hear from you. And oh, by the way, speaking of that, so if Kansas State, we know Deuce Vaughn is their weapon, right? You cannot, the defense has played, for the most part, has still played well this year. And in fact, maybe in some cases surprisingly well. And then you lose Terrell Bernard, and you have some of the things with all the defensive linemen in and out. But one of the things that they have done is when they have played pretty tight most of the game, this happened against Texas with Ellinger hitting them 2 or 3 times. And Tech is that they have given up the 3 or 4 big plays. They've played well. They've played well enough to win. But that's one of the things that you can't play perfect, but they're the ones that have given you a chance to win with turnovers, but it's unfortunate they've also given up a couple of key plays at the wrong time as well.
Yeah, I was going to say there's been a couple times where they haven't come through, and then those cost you wins. And even if they were the ones that put you in that position with a turnover or what have you, you still got to finish the job, right? So it's kind of an incomplete. But I will say, no, the defense has been a wonderful surprise this year, just in terms of what the expectations pretty much were across the board. They've exceeded those, and they've done so, here as of late with, as you mentioned, the best player on the entire football team, no matter what side of the ball you're talking about. So I've liked the way they played since Bernard went out. I think it's been great to see Abram Smith blossom. That's a really good sign for moving forward over the next couple years, is now you feel great no matter what happens with Bernard. You obviously would love to have him back, but at least coming back, hey, there's a guy in Abram Smith that we feel like we can rely on. I think he played pretty well last week. But going back to Steven's call, with the weather the way it is, I don't think it's still raining. And really it's just been spitting consistently today. And it's just kind of nasty. So definitely running the football with what K-State's good at, that's what they're good at. And with Baylor, showing some signs maybe last week that's improving a little bit, I definitely think whoever has a better run game is probably going to win this game today. And like you said with the defense, whoever stops the run is probably going to win this game today. And I know it's you can always kind of boil it down to those types of things, but not always. Texas Tech, Oklahoma State was a shootout. It didn't really come down to who ran the football better. Right. So, but I do think in this game, though, with these teams and these offenses, running the football, stopping the run, like Steven said, is going to be tip-top important.
And that's the way Kansas State has to win. Now, if they hit you deep with a throw on occasion, then you're in for a bad day. Here's a text and then a call from the 254. Biggest keys today are our offense needs to be consistent. Defense needs to take away the run and win the turnover battle. And even on occasions when they have, that hasn't worked. Diane, happy post-Thanksgiving, driving back from Nashville, and thrilled to be listening this afternoon. Looking forward to both of tonight's games. Men's basketball at 7, Baylor football at 6. Diane, thank you very much, and also the 254.
Statman, you're on SicEm365 Radio.
Good afternoon, Smokey, Paul, and Craig. I just wanted to call and let you know two things. First and foremost, I was able to secure a pair of tickets for the Baylor-Kansas State football game at McLean Stadium, and I'm inviting my good friend Andy, a local pediatrician, to join me. Also, Brian Etheridge extended a personal invitation for me to visit the SicEm365 tent during pregame, and there's an opportunity perhaps to enjoy a meal along with fellowship with some good men and women that are proud supporters of SicEm365.
Statman, it's always great to hear from you. Every time. Always great to hear from you. And it's great that you're a part of our audience as well. Sick and Bears, thank you very much.
Glad you got a ticket. Glad you're hopefully going to be able to make it over to the tailgate. It's a nice little setup and a fun time over there. And, hopefully you continue just to grow that little event over there, each week and grow that fellowship, as you mentioned. But that's what it's all about. I mean, it's all about the community. And, I know Colton, Ashley, and Brian have done everything possible to try to keep, building that community, growing that community, and forming that community. And so, go be a part of it, be a part of all of that, and welcome. Have a good time.
Colt, do you have anything that you like to throw at the last second? Everything, you got any personnel things you got to?
Oh, any notes? Got missing the game today?
Colt? All right, okay.
Safe right now. How much time do we have?
There have been times.
An hour.
There have been a few times when Colt had something, had to wait till the last second, and then also, it's been that kind of a year. But at least like today, it appears as if things are all clear for right now.
I mean, you think about it though: Ben Sims, Tyquan Thornton, Treston Ebner, and John Lovett all playing. Yeah, I mean that's like if your offense does not look better today, then I'm going to jump on the train with a whole lot of other people and start, maybe calling for names. And I don't want to do that because I think this year's so weird and it's too early for all that. But, I mean, there better be some improvement when you've had 2 weeks to prepare. You're how many games deep? 7 games deep at this? 6 games deep? Game. So your 7th game, you played it, routinely now. It's not like you've been off for like a month and a half like you were early on. I mean, there's really no excuses for anything other than progress today. And I know that everybody wants to see a win, no matter how ugly it might be. But if that's not going to be the outcome, I hope it is. But if it's not, then we dang sure better hope that we at least see some improvement.
Yeah,
because
and then
that's
on top
what you
of
have
that,
to have.
Not only on top of 4 offensive weapons returning, a tight end who's been a key. Also, Dabney played well in his absence. With what Tyquan Thornton you thought was going to have a big year, that didn't work out for many reasons. And then you have 2 of your elite running backs. These are 2 single-digit guys, although that's a different story. We know that. And then you have Quaylon Jones, who gives you that 21-carry push, that you haven't had from a running back in 2 years.
Well, yeah, who can run into somebody and knock them back? And he can do that. Who can do that? They have not had that in a long time. He's a banger.
Yeah. But he also could give you a little bit on the edges as well, but he's a banger. It'll be interesting to see how they kind of do that. By the way, I don't know about Jared Atkinson. I know he hurt his ankle in practice earlier in the week, and he was there was concern about his opportunities to play, this being senior. It's not, because they have Oklahoma State at home in a couple of weeks, but I know they put up a graphic, and there's some chatter about, well, how come Charlie's face is not there? There's others. They have
he's
a home game.
Guys, he's been like on every promo poster for the last 3.5 years.
Yeah.
He's not on one thing.
Yeah,
We're going to complain about. Come on.
But there is a home game, you hope, in 2 weeks from today against Oklahoma State.
Colt just passed this along. KSU starting linebackers Elijah Sullivan and Justin Hughes appear to be out, and they didn't play last week either. So that's obviously, if you're looking to run the football or you're looking to just move the football like this Baylor offense has struggled to do at times, and 2 starting linebackers out for the opposing team certainly would go a long way for you. By the way, I did have a question. Do y'all know who Baylor's second leading receiver is?
Well,
you know who number 1 is. It's very obvious.
R.J. Sneed.
Yeah, of course.
Is it Ben Sims?
No.
Dabney?
Nope. Huh?
Gavin Holmes.
Nope.
Ebner?
It's Treston Ebner.
Yeah.
Is their second leading receiver. You know their second leading rusher is? Or what? I guess now Squirrel, when he got hurt, was actually their leading rusher on the year. That's how little Lovett had done prior to injury. Lovett hasn't even broken 200 yards yet this year. So you talk about the lack of anything from Thornton. Sims was chugging along, then he gets hurt. You have no running guy to really point to, and you got nobody other than R.J. Sneed to really point to, although some have shown things here and there. But, I mean, that's bizarre to me that Ebner's your second leading receiver and then Charlie Brewer's like your third leading rusher.
That's great. And Charlie, of course, last year ran the ball pretty well. He had the best running game, I think, against Texas Tech. I don't know about the KU game. Here's from the 979, then a break, and we come back with Dave Aranda. Lengthy interview with him. I've noticed Charlie hasn't been mentioned in any of the senior day media. This is what we were just talking about. Does that possibly indicate he's coming back next year, or did I miss something? That being said, if you're a fan and are also going to come to senior day, just call for Charlie's head and chant Zeno the whole game. Don't bother going. That's from the 979.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah, I do agree with you on that. And there is another home game, and we don't know what it means as far as the early conversations with Robert Brewer, Charlie's father, when we had him on the show, was that it was very tempting for Charlie to look at it. A lot of things have changed in the last 2 months, but I don't think you should read anything into any graphic with whose faces are on it or not.
And Aranda said, we played the soundbite earlier, that they haven't even talked about it yet.
No, they haven't. All right, when we come back, Dave Aranda with much about today, Kansas State, this team, all in, rock bottom, what? Next on SicEm365 Radio.
Car has the trucks, man. They have the one for you. Crew cab, short or long bed, silver, black or blue. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, he has the truck for you. Carr has the trucks, man. He has the truck you need. If you want the best truck, you want a GMC. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
When we moved to Texas, we were like fish out of water. We didn't know anyone in our neighborhood until our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent came to the house. She was so helpful and reassuring, a friendly face with that Texan hospitality I'd heard about. When we purchased a Texas Farm Bureau insurance policy, we knew we were making the right choice. We knew our family would be protected.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Texas Board Certified Personal Injury Trial Lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
This is the Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac SicEm365 Radio Baylor Football Tailgate Show. Now here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Is this the time when you really find out who wants to be a part of the Baylor football team when things are kind of struggling and people are looking elsewhere? And is this when you find out who's all in?
Yeah, I thought, yesterday, for example, really good energy yesterday. I thought guys, when we all came back from the bye and the break, I think they lifted on Friday, but we didn't have any football for them on Friday or Saturday, so coming back yesterday, a lot of good energy. Meeting I thought was great, and then the practice was I thought had a lot of juice to it, and I look back at these last couple weeks of our weightlifting sessions and our conditioning work and our football practices, and guys are out there having fun, competing. There's energy out there. And so I think it's taking that to Saturday and for 4 quarters. And I think that's really the challenge. I think when guys are around here and they're in the day to day, I think they're enjoying it and they're backing their teammates and they're pulling for each other. And we've got to be able to get this 4 quarters taken care of and get ourselves a win.
What would a win mean right now to your program?
I think it just validates that the work that we do and gives our guys something positive to build upon. I think we're building upon the daily wins that we encounter, whether it's getting to a learning specialist on time, whether it's getting to a tutoring session on time, being prepared. It's being early to a class. It's acing a test. It's having a great workout session. It's having a great meeting, taking notes, right? Getting some out of it. This is what I learned. This is my big takeaway. Those things. And so we're trying to win those individual moments. Win the day. And so really focusing on those things as opposed to the what has happened and kind of where we're at and all of it. And so I think a win will validate that process. And so I think it'll be big for us.
Was the way the game ended, I know it's been almost 2 weeks or over a week, but just what you've done at Ames and it didn't work out, the gut-wrenching ending, and the same thing with Texas Tech, do you believe that there's sometimes there's a rock bottom before you can get back to what you want to be?
No, I have never really thought of it that way. I think it's just, when we don't get the results we're aiming for, I think there's always things to improve. I think there's always, whether it is, I think just as teachers, number one, I think you teach who you are, and so there's always going to be, this technique, this scheme, this, that, this, whatever. But it's what's in your heart, right? It's what you believe, it's what you value. Those things come out. And so when you get into these times that are tougher, right? You're teaching who you are. And so I think for us, it's an opportunity to kind of walk the walk, and all of it. And I feel we'll be better for it.
Are there things that you're having to go through now, and you've had to go through really even throughout the season, that would have been implemented, not just X's and O's or scheme or plays, but many things you would have done during the spring and summer?
I think a lot of that would have. It's a good question. I think a lot of those things relate to just the bonding of the team, and so I think whether it is going through, let's say, a spring, and we're going through practices and competition, and there's the good and bad of a practice and how it's being critiqued, how it's being corrected, right? How do we bounce back after a bad scrimmage or a good scrimmage? How we handle positive news? All of those things would kind of be established or be kind of known, with a spring ball. And then I think position group wise, kind of, roles. Hey, this coach handles pressure this way. This coach handles, mistakes that way. And all of that would have been really identified and known. And I think there would have been probably a greater comfort level going into the season with that. And then I think summer allows, a normal summer, the teams together. It's not broken up. And so there's guys that are there's a bonding that goes on there of guys meeting and getting to know the freshmen, getting to know all the guys in the other classes, right? The straining and getting better in the individual workouts. And so that piece, the bonding part, which I know is a huge part of just Baylor and Baylor football, the success in the past and any success we're going to have in the future. There's layers now when you have two locker rooms, when we bring our team back and they're by phases, different groups. And so, all of these things that have to be done, but, to fight one battle, you're hurting yourself in another. And so I think just our ability when it's that type of adversity to teach who you are and to speak the reality of it and to be transparent in all of it, I think just makes you stronger.
Is that also something that maybe has been a challenge because, we know the story about with Ebner and Lovett, that's gone and cleared. Now Yusuf, and there's things he's dealing with. And you've had some of that as well. Plus, there's you can't talk so much about recruiting, but there's been some guys that have now said they want to look elsewhere. Is that one of the biggest challenges you've had to face as a new coaching staff, the transition with the old and the new, and then not having as much time as you would have wanted with them?
I'd say yes and no. I think yes, in it hurts you in the outset. But then I think no, because we've had a lot of time here, and I think just throughout the season, and I think there's nothing defines you as much as adversity. I think that's the real comes out, and so I think when you're a player or you're a coach, we talk an awful lot about person over player, and how it's important that we start with the development of character and work on on being a better person, and through that we'll be better players. I'm having meetings with guys on that right now, but I think like just those things come to life every day when you're in adversity. I think that pulls you closer together.
Can you relate to what Coach Kleiman's dealing with depth and issues and numbers because of what you've had to battle at times?
Yeah, you see it on tape, and so I think when I watch them. I watched their film from last year. I watched their film the beginning of the year, and I'm seeing them now. And there's different jersey. There's different combinations in there. There's different people in there, and they're such a well-coached unit, and I've got so much respect for him as a coach and just his staff. And you were talking to the defensive staff today, like run game wise, just how they attack you offensively is very smart. I mean, angles and numbers, and they really get you into spots in a subtle way too, that take advantage of weaknesses. And so, there's a lot of respect that goes out to them. But it's who's this guy? I didn't see him before. Now who's this? And there's a fair amount of that. So I understand that struggle.
When a player opts out, it's not always because you might not be winning, is it? Isn't there a lot other things, whether it's an offense, it's a lot of things that come into play that people maybe, they're losing, people want to leave. Is it much deeper than that?
Yeah, I think, for example, there's kids that family-wise are hurting, jobs being taken away, parents having to make this sacrifice or that sacrifice, and then we're not able to see, our kids are not able to see their parents, and so we can't go home and see them, and so there's just that strain, and there's so many kids that are just really, really close to their parents, and so I think the concern for their family, the concern for where's the money going to come from, where's the health and wellness of my family, those things are all weighing on them. So it certainly goes there for opt-outs as well.
Dave, you were asked about Charlie Brewer. I know that most importantly it's about this week in Kansas State. I've asked you about Charlie and what he's been through and the year he's had. It's been a struggle at times, no question. But when you were asked about whether or not he might come back, I know that that's not right now. But is that something that you want him back for another year? I didn't know if you didn't sound like you were too sold on what you wanted him to do.
No, yeah, I'm a big fan of Charlie, and I look at there's a fair amount of guys that are in that position of, whether it's Ebner or Lovett, or there's a fair amount of guys, and so I think the more that we can get our guys back, and if they're willing to come back and compete and be on our team and contribute. And all of it, would love to do that. And so from my perspective, it's I love this team, and let's get better, and let's do it together. But I think as these weeks go by and we get closer to the end of the season, it just seems more appropriate to bring it up and talk about it then.
Would you have rather played a game last week, or were you happy that it was a week where you could kind of look at the details, the every point, as you mentioned during your teleconference?
Yeah, so even during our bye weeks, it's just been very, I think just this whole year, it's the byes have been, there's stuff coming up during the byes, and so like the for our team, for our players anyways, to have time. I think their last practice was Tuesday. And so then have a Wednesday, have a Thursday, and lift on a Friday, right? Lift some on Sunday. I think, it's they needed that. They needed that opportunity to rest up and to be refocused and re-energized. And I thought we felt that yesterday. For us as a staff, right? So our ability to self-scout and then look at K-State some and just be prepared for whatever comes. I think that's. There's been a fair amount of that throughout these buys, and so I'm thankful that we're able to get some time, Friday and Saturday there to relax and family. Like for me, my family it was all my kids were home and my wife was there, and no games to go to or any of that. So it was nice to be around just with them. That hardly ever happens, and so I think we're all focused and ready to go.
2 more questions, if you don't mind. You don't seem to be a guy that if a player walks in the door and says, Coach, I don't know if I want to be here anymore, you don't seem to be that coach that would draw a line in the sand, that you would rather try to work through it on what's best for him and possibly also what then is best for the program. Is that correct?
That is. I think I think this is a different time, and I think the first thing with that goes with listening to what the problem is and listening to understand and not really listening to try to say something. But I think there's guys that are really fighting stuff that's off the field, and I think their main source of inspiration and their main source of connection is their family. And so when that is strained, I think that strain only lasts so long before it breaks. And so I think we're in constant communication with our players that way to try to build to make it to the end of all of this. And so it's been tough for them just because of the 2 locker rooms, the eating on the team used to eat together. We'd all be together. They would eat and share stories and really kind of build community. It's now eat and go. I think the one time really the whole team is together throughout the week is at the end of practice, and then our Friday night meal. And so it's just those building that community with us is the constant that we're always fighting.
Thanksgiving week, what are you thankful for?
Well, I'm thankful for just the staff here, our team. I'm thankful for the opportunities that we have. I'm thankful for this. I think I was talking with Coach Drew, I think it was last night, and just talking about just this, like what we're thankful for. And I'm thankful for just the opportunity to be in a position to where guys are looking for leadership and are looking for a way to get better and a way out of this. And I know that we can. And I know that, we stick together, we fight together, we'll get out of it, and we'll be better for it, is the main takeaway there. And so I'm thankful for that.
Dave Aranda, Baylor football coach on SicEm365 Radio.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs. Knowing you, that's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Bird Culchin Ford has been in Waco since 1936. Ford, the #1 selling truck in Texas, 43 years running. And Bird Culchin Ford proudly supports high school football in Central Texas. And no better way to tailgate with a Ford than from Bird Culchin Ford, our sponsor of the Ford Tough Player of the Week. Locally owned dealership, online at bkford.com at 1701 West Loop 340 in Waco. The annual tent sale is going on right now.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
It was broad daylight. I stepped into a gas station for 5 minutes to grab a snack, and just like that, my car was broken into. They made out like a bandit. My laptop, my phone, everything. I called my agent to see what could be done, and he restored my faith in humanity. My claim was processed so quickly, and I was able to recover my losses.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
This is the Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac SicEm365 Radio Baylor Football Tailgate Show. Now here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
And here we go, 5:20, the game kickoff just after 6 o'clock. Baylor and Kansas State at McLean Stadium on what has been an overcast, dreary, rainy, a little bit chilly and windy day, and perfect.
We did a super fun high school game today.
Yeah, we did. 27-22. Riker wins. They move on to the next round, the semifinals in TAPS Division 4. Craig had his sideline view.
It was super fun for Craig, too.
Yeah, I love being wet and cold. It's awesome. It's my favorite feeling in the world. And, as soon as I leave here, I'm going to go throw all of these clothes off and get warm, hopefully. And maybe halftime I'll have time to take a hot shower or something like that. I don't know. I don't think I'll have time before the game, but we'll see. We'll see. But, better inside than outside on a day like today for sure.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
But it was a good game, and that's a heck of a win for Riker. And, we picked them up a couple weeks ago, and now here we are, and they're in the state semifinals. So they're 2 wins away from, winning it all. And, if we get to be a part of that ride, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. All right, so earlier today, Baylor University, this is something that Brian Etheridge and SicEm365 has been involved with. I did not know much about it. I'm just letting you know, but Brian Etheridge did kind of feed me this information. John Kane and Jack Loomis, both are Medal of Honor recipients during World War II. One's a football player, one's a former Baylor men's basketball player. And today, they unveiled these 2 statues. That's from Brian Etheridge. He took the picture on the, the South Concourse at McLean Stadium. And, it's just awesome. One school, now I don't know, there's probably maybe a handful. I don't know. I've even seen whether or not there is even more than 1 or 2 schools or universities that have 2 Medal of Honor recipients from the same university.
Yeah, it's not a medal they give out all the time. It's a very elite club of that, and so, yeah, I don't know, 2 for the same school it's got to be pretty rare, you would think.
So that's from Brian Etheridge, and that was a big deal to Brian. He was a part of that. I remember he told me a little bit about who was commissioned to do the statue, and it was out somewhere, I think in West Texas, where they were doing that. In fact, we had a guest on about it, and congratulations, Baylor University honoring the memories of John Kane and Jack Loomis, and obviously when we had Jimmy Isaacs, the retired Major General, on, one of the things I did not know about Baylor, in the lamppost up and down the campus, the lampposts have survivors, those who passed away from being in the war. I did not know anything about that until we had Mr. Isaacs General Isaacs on the show on Veterans Day. That was something that I didn't know. That was a unique part of Baylor University and the campus as well. All right, let's update a couple of college games, and then we'll get to our predictions and our thoughts. Coastal Carolina rolls past Texas State 49-14. Alabama cruising past Auburn 42-6 with 7 minutes left. Clemson, third quarter, 38-17 over Pittsburgh.
Oh, yeah, it was A&M that was needing an Auburn win here.
Yeah.
So, not even going to get close to that. I mean, I didn't think the Iron Bowl was going to be, when they're saying that you thought maybe Auburn would maybe play upset. It's not even close.
By the way, this Devontae Smith, 7 catches, 171 yards, and 2 scores. Remember, they lost who was the receiver they lost who was so dynamic?
Kid from Texas.
Yeah.
Waddle.
Yeah. Mac Jones, 300 yards, 5 touchdowns rushing. Of course, Najee Harris has almost 100 yards in a score. 42-6 Alabama without Nick Saban. And I saw the video. I didn't get to watch it.
They don't need him. They don't need.
He did a 4-minute video to the senior class about their game in Tuscaloosa.
Just proving that he's as overrated as they come.
Chris Del Conte's on the phone with him right now. See, they don't even need you in Tuscaloosa. We could definitely use your help.
That's why he missed the game. It's at cover. He's in Austin. Clemson 38-17 mid-third quarter. They lead Pittsburgh, and Northwestern and Michigan State tied now with 10 minutes left at 20 apiece. Florida beat Kentucky 34-10. Indiana 27-11. That was kind of a trap game for them emotionally. They beat Maryland and Oklahoma State, as we mentioned earlier, with a big lead, and then held on to beat Texas Tech 50-44. A&M plays tonight against LSU.
A game you're missing there because it's not top 25, but Penn State picked up their first win, and they beat Michigan, of all teams. So beat them 27-17, and Penn State now 1-5. I think they were top 25. They were like top 10 to start the year, weren't they? Mm-hmm. Something crazy like that. They've played 6 games. They've won 1 of them. Michigan now 2-4. 2-4. So as much as you think,
at the big house.
Much as you think Tom Herman's on a hot seat right now, Jim Harbaugh's is hotter.
I will say this right now, and if it's not true, then whatever. Detroit Lions head coach Jim Harbaugh.
Well, he gets to stay in Michigan. They now have an opening because Matt Patricia was fired today by the Lions after their loss on Thursday, and just because they aren't very good.
Some people. And he was at Stanford before, which is kind of its own thing. And then he was in the NFL. Some people are NFL coaches and some people are college coaches. Some people can do both. Some people, though, are one or the other. And I'm starting to think that maybe Jim Harbaugh is more of an NFL guy.
Yeah, but he was really good at Stanford.
But see, that's its own kind of a thing. Like at Stanford, the thing about recruiting at Stanford is you can only recruit certain people. You don't have a wide base. Michigan, you have this whole thing, all these things you have to entertain. So if you can get really good, like David Shaw has been, and sometimes they're going to have dips because there might not be a lot of super smart guys that are going to make you that much better at the playmaker position. But because they have that narrow window of who they can recruit at Stanford, I think it fits a certain type of coach. And then when you go somewhere else, not that it's harder to recruit, it's just how it is.
Am I on? Because I just completely lost all audio. Sorry, this little plug just came undone. Now, it's a good point about Stanford. There's certain places that are just unique to who you can recruit. All right, so here we go. We're a little over probably 40 minutes away from kickoff. Baylor and Kansas State. Craig, we'll start with you. We have Armstrong had been keeping up with this. I did pick, I guess, because I just didn't believe in Baylor. I did change my pick last time, and Armstrong and I had Texas Tech. Just felt weird about it. Your thoughts?
I'll take Baylor for probably the last time this year. If they win this week, then I might very well take them against Oklahoma State. I will not pick them against Oklahoma, but I am picking them today. I feel like it's just there for the taking. They're at home. They're as healthy as they've been this entire year. They've had 2 weeks to prepare for this game. If they're not substantially better looking today, then I don't know if there's major problems, but there's problems that aren't going away, I guess. So I'm picking them to win. There's nothing special about Kansas State other than they just play hard. They're K-State. They're the K-State that we've always known. And Baylor's had success against K-State. So I'm going to pick Dave Aranda and company to get their second win today.
Yeah, I'll pick Baylor to get their second win. Kansas State's they've got a case of the 2020s right now. Their quarterback was hurt before anybody started getting COVID on their team. And then they've had COVID and they've got other injuries. I think this is Baylor's best opportunity to get a second win. And again, I'm not going to pick them against Oklahoma or Oklahoma State, but I do pick them today.
Yeah, and don't forget again tonight at 7 o'clock, Baylor men's basketball playing University of Louisiana Lafayette in Vegas. Tomorrow at 5, they play Washington, one of the few teams, 3 teams that beat them last year. That game is tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Lady Bears eventually will be flying to Tampa to be a part of a tournament down where they won the national championship back in April of 2019. I'll say Baylor wins it. I'm going to say 26-17. I don't know. It's hard to pick them because you don't know. Are they going to score on defense? Are they going to make field goals? Are they going to do anything on offense? I'll just say 26-17, but I can't imagine if it's been low after Tech or low after blowing the lead to Iowa State or what's happened this year, lose to a team in Kansas State. Would it surprise me? Yeah, it wouldn't.
No, I mean, like, K-State's got a better record. Like, they're a better team.
Just 2 weeks ago, Kansas State was in the talk about maybe they could somehow get to the end and be a part of the game.
Right, and as I said earlier, the only thing that changed was their quarterback got hurt. You know, like that threw them for a loop. If he's not hurt, then they're probably not losing all the games they've been losing here as of late, and they're probably right there still in the conversation. But that is what happened. And so they're no longer, in that conversation, and they're struggling a lot more. But that's what it is. So I'm picking Baylor. We'll see what happens.
All right, so we all go Baylor, and we'll see what happens. They'll kick off in a little over half an hour. Tyler Bolden, man, can't thank you enough. Great to see you. Hope we can see you again helping out. And we'll be back on the air. Brian, I'm not sure if he's doing a cut-in at halftime or not. He usually does. And then Paul and Drake will do the postgame here from SicEm365 Studios at 101 Elm Avenue and Martin Luther King. For Craig Smoke and Paul Catalina, still a lot more to come. Have fun watching the game. Be a part of what we do. We'll be back on the air Monday as well at 3 to kind of look at everything. And Dee Richards is one of our special guests on Monday. For Tyler Bolden as well, thank you for listening. Our great sponsors, Richard Carr, Buick, GMC, Cadillac, our pregame sponsor. I'm David Smoke. Good afternoon on SicEm365 Radio.
Listening to the Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac SicEm365 Radio Baylor Football Tailgate Show, brought to you by
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952. IdealMRI.com. Premium quality MRIs. Convenient, affordable. That's ideal. Edward Jones Investments. With agents Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, Tom Albers, and Cam Heathcott. Makes sense of investing. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. The team physicians for Baylor Athletics. Our goal is to get you back in the game. Stonewood Dental. Your comfort is our priority. Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. Your friend in the car business.
That one picked off, and it's a pick six by Jalen Petrie.
The Willis Law Firm. Premier personal injury and product defect trial lawyers. Petty Clinic Low T. Helping you become the high-performance man you want to be. Pioneer Steel and Pipe. Metal buildings, metal roofing, steel and pipe. The Pioneer way since 1943. Baylor University, where lights shine bright. Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. Come by, let's be friends. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131. First National Bank of Central Texas. Bird Culchin Ford, your home for Texas-built Ford tough trucks.
Look into the end zone, he's got a man.